definitely when we talk to people about physical activity, not having enough time is one of the biggest challenges that people have. And one thing that's been introduced fairly recently is this concept of snacktivity. It's about exercise snacking or physical activity snacking. So people might have heard the kind of this general recommendation of 30 minutes of physical activity on most days of the week. And 30 minutes in one block can feel just too much for a lot of people to find the time to do it. But you might be able to find 5 minutes here or there between activities or whatever other errands and responsibilities you've got. And you can do a quick 5 minutes of something and you build a few of those in during the day. And before you know it, you've done 15 or 20 minutes of physical activity that you wouldn't have otherwise done. So there are kind of ways that we can incorporate things like physical activity into our day. Another one, and I guess this is like a personal example. So if you've got children that you're taking to various sporting activities, for example, that can often feel like, right, well, I can't do any activity because I'm taking my child here or there. If you're taking them to the football training or football match and you're hanging around while they're warming up, there might be somewhere you can go for a walk yourself. My daughter fairly recently got into climbing, and I found myself sitting around in the climbing gym getting cold and bored. And then one day I thought, why am I doing this? I'm going to give it a go. And turns out it's brilliant fun, and there was a great bunch of people to meet and enjoy it with. And then I started climbing a couple of times a week, very poorly, but enjoyed it nonetheless. And that was a way that I managed to incorporate a bit more activity into my day to day. So it was about looking for those opportunities, I guess, for when you can incorporate activity into a part of your day that you might not have thought of. Can you just maybe give yourself a few more minutes to do a fast walk somewhere rather than jumping in the car, for example?
I presume one of the key things, or what would be most advantageous, is if you loved the thing.
For sure.
But another problem is sometimes it's not always super pleasurable. We don't have the luxury of finding an activity that we absolutely love to do. If that is the case, and we just know that we have to do it for a good reason, is there a way to make it less unenjoyable, let's say?
Yeah, for sure. No, you're absolutely right. If we can find something that we really enjoy, when you ask any kind of exercise scientist, what's the best exercise somebody can do? They'll almost certainly say whichever one they're going to keep doing, the thing that you enjoy. You're absolutely right. But some people just really find it difficult to get any enjoyment out of, exercise or physical activity. So, like you say, coupling it with something else that you do enjoy can be a really helpful thing. So, let's say you enjoy listening to podcasts, like we're recording today. Perhaps take the time to download some podcasts that you want to listen to, or some music that you want to listen to, and do that while you're doing the thing that you're not so keen on. Or if you've got an exercise machine at home, putting it near the TV so you can catch up on that box set while you're doing a bit of exercise, then things like that can help. And I think also keeping a track. So we talk in the trade about something called behavior change techniques. And these are what are the kind of active ingredients of interventions we might develop to support people to change a behavior. And one of the behavior change techniques with the most evidence for being helpful in supporting behavior change is something called self monitoring. And that's just keeping a track of what we're doing. And you can see the explosion of that in the apps on our phones and the fancy watches that you can buy. But keeping a track of what you're doing over a period of time, helping you keep that streak for however many steps a day you're trying to do, or trying to do your 3 lots of runs in the week, or whatever it might be. Keeping a diary of what you're doing, monitoring your behavior in some way can help us stay motivated to keep doing it, and can give us a sense of achievement when we look back and say, wow, this time last year I was only doing whatever, and I'm doing much more now. So that can be a useful thing to help keeping us motivated, especially if it's something that we don't particularly love doing.